there even more. And you know, I do think that this building is it's visible from the park and it feels part of the park. The small retail around the park, you know, it's all part of that. You know, on one corner there's a number of retailers, but then there's a small hair cutter just a half block from this site. They are on Lyndale Avenue, but the park is this focal point, and this is not, as presented, a large development, and it can't be a large development under the code, because this development is proposed, you know, up to within 2 feet of the maximum height in OR1. So I just wanted to speak a little bit to that I do think this connects to the park and is a part of the community. It's a focal point for the community and the neighborhood's Fish Fest and so forth. And I would not vote for it if I thought if there were a possibility of some wildly out of character uses. And I just look at the, you know, OR1. I'm looking at it right now, and it just is not. It's not much different than what's allowed in residential. As you know, we've got child care centers throughout in residential, and that's about the most offensive thing in here. And it's in front of a park, so that's an appropriate use. So
it allows more residential units.
Thank you.
It allows more residential units, which I believe is a good thing.
Commissioner Bender.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, first I wanted to say I often hear complaints that all new residential projects look the same and they're the same sort of cookie cutter thing. And I think that happens when we have only bigger developers developing in the city. So I want to thank you and commend you for taking on a challenging project and being somebody who I don't know for sure, but I think hasn't maybe done a lot of development projects in the past. And I think I would like to see more of that in a city. And sometimes, you know, maybe you don't have the same like kind of lawyers and PR team that some of the bigger developers have when they go to the neighborhood meetings and the planning commission. But, you know, that kind of goes along with the benefits of having folks who have unique perspectives, who have different talents, who can bring forward more creative projects developing in the city. And again, I think that's a good thing. And I think if we have more of that, we'll see neighborhoods be happier with the development that we get overall in the city. You know, I'm hearing, you know, some concern from the neighborhood. I know you've been many times about some of these details, perhaps, and there will be time here before the project has to come to the city council for approval for the rezoning. That's automatic, and there may be time within there to work out some of those final details with the neighborhood, if that's possible. The rezoning, you know, initially my concern had to do with the overall lot and looking at the OR zoning for you know, the whole area. Again, though, looking at the use classifications, I think the argument is compelling that there really aren't significant differences between the OR and the R3, OR1 and R3. So I'm able to support the rezoning at this time. I do think some of these landscaping questions and the yard, we'll talk about the yard setbacks in a second, maybe have some work to do before it's ready.
All right. Commissioner Rockwell, did you have something?
And I had one other just sort of auxiliary thought, which was, you know, I think as the neighborhood wants to preserve the character of this site, you know, working together to make this a historic designation, you know, locks that in. It locks it in no matter who the landowner is. And so I found that compelling. It's not historic right now. I said to Commissioner Slack, it'd be a lot easier if it were already, but it's not. So, you know, that's a path to really lock the character of the site in for the foreseeable future.
All right. And we have a motion and a second on approving the rezoning. There is no further discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bender?
Aye.
Gisselman.
Aye.
Franzer.
Aye.
Magrino.
Aye.
Rockwell.
Aye.
Slack.
Aye.
6-0.
We have 3 more applications before us. Commissioner Kronzer, would you like to continue? All right.
Excuse me. I'd like to move approval of the conditional use permit to increase the maximum height with the 2 stated conditions.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the conditional use permit? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Slack.
Aye.
Rockwell.
Aye.
Magrino.
Aye.
Franzer.
Aye.
Gisselman.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
6-0.
And we have 2 setback variances. Commissioner Magrino, would you like to take a stab at that?
To deny both of these, does that by any chance prevent the applicant from coming back in 6 months or a year if he has a more fleshed out sort of plan?
Commissioners, our practice is that they, within a year, can't bring us back the exact same thing, but they could certainly come back at any point and propose a revised plan in some fashion, or certainly the same plan after a year.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Kronzer, would you like to make a motion?
Well, let's try to see if we can do this today. I'd like to move approval of variance to reduce the required front yard setback along Garfield with 1 condition, and that is work with staff to provide planters or other means of greening on the landing.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, let's see if we have a second first. We have a motion and a second.
Okay, so the practical difficulty I see here is reusing an existing structure. It's not even really a building; it's a industrial, screen. I mean, it is a building; it has a roof, has windows. The floor level is about 2 feet above grade. Most apartment buildings are built with floors very close to the sidewalk. So there is a grade change here that's, the applicant did not produce himself or herself. As far as the stair goes, as far as the design, the character of the design and of the general vicinity, the stair is clearly oriented towards the park, and it would very much support that OR1 use just inside the building. Going either direction across the street, it's a 3 or 4 story apartment building. Going north, there's quite a large separation between the end of this design stair and the first single family house. It's probably in a 60 some feet or more. So it's really orienting the building back to the corner towards the park in the way I see it.
All right, Commissioner Rockwell.
And, I see the practical difficulty is really being about the park orientation. This is a park, and I think that this helps orient the building towards the park. Having some of that sort of frontage pushed towards that park, the chair, the salon a block away does a little bit of it. It's much smaller. It's a very small little building, but it has kind of a wraparound sidewalk and what is for its scale kind of a patio that pushes towards the park, and I think that helps it not only orient towards Lindale but also towards the park. So I just wanted to add that since this is going contrary to staff recommendation, that is what my practical difficulty analysis was.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the variance for the front yard setback along Garfield Avenue with 1 condition, that the applicant work with staff to provide greening through planters or other landscaping on that process. If there's no further discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Bender.
Aye.
Gisselman.
Aye.
Kronzer.
Aye.
Magrino.
Aye.
Rockwell.
Aye.
Slack.
Aye.
6-0.
And item D, Commissioner.
I'd like to. I'll start over since the mic wasn't on. A variance a motion to approve the variance for the front yard setback along West 33rd Street with one condition. That being, the two patios should be limited to 60 square feet each, and to work with staff to create a landscape plan in the remaining areas that are soil, including a landscape area between the patio and the alley, that eastern patio.
All right. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Commissioner Cron.
Just really quickly, I think with some additional landscaping, those patios almost feel like front porches. I know my neighbor's front porch is 12 feet from my edge of my front porch. We get along. It's great. And given the fact that the house across the alley, there is an alley, and there's a house, there doesn't appear to be any outdoor space at that house. I mean, it's a front porch. It's a enclosed house, steps, small stoop. So it's fairly limited in its impact, if any, to that parcel.
Okay, so again, we have a motion to approve the variance for the setback along 33rd Street with the condition that the patios are limited to 60 square feet each and that the applicant work with staff on a landscaping plan for areas in that setback area, including the area between the patios and the alley. Commissioner Rockwell, do you have
Sorry,
something to add?
I think we need to establish the practical difficulty, which I see is the same as the prior variance, but there we are.
Good.
I would also add adding eyes on the street. I think right now that's a pretty long blank wall that has no activity. Having some outdoor space will help create some of our SEPTA policies.
All right. If there is no further discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Bender.
Aye.
Gissman.
Aye.
Kronzer. Magrino.
Aye.
Rockwell.
Aye.
Slack.
Aye.
6-0.
All right, and that concludes our discussion on, that motion carries, that concludes our discussion on this item. I did realize about 3.5 hours ago we did not have a motion to continue item 5 to January 25th, so would someone mind making a motion? Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor. Okay, we have our bases covered there. So we can adjourn, we have committee of the whole on Thursday.